Hope you're all well today on this gorgeous day in St. Genevieve. Thank you all for coming. We'd like to start the ceremony by Mayor Paul Hasler, asking you all to stand for the pledge. Paul Hasler, please.
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I don't have much time, just a few minutes, but first of all, I want to welcome you all here. What a great day, amen? Amen. It is a great day. And, I understand 20 years ago somebody had a vision, and that vision was to have a park, a National Park Service in St. Genevieve. And I don't know who that person was, but because of the hard effort of a lot of people within those 20 years, they get to see it happen. Because everybody kept their eyes on the vision, and the vision has come and it's here today. And what an honor to be a part of that. There's been many people, too many people to thank, but I want to thank you all because it's just a great day here in St. Genevieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it so much. And I met Paul about a little over a year ago. I guess it's been now. Yeah. And we've had some great conversations. And he's been very patient with us, and we appreciate that a great deal. And also very helpful moving through this. So thanks so much, Mayor. Appreciate it. So there's a lot of folks that you're going to hear thank yous to today. There's a lot of people that worked very hard on this for many years, like the mayor said. And this next gentleman is Representative Dale Wright, and he was instrumental in helping pass a conveyance bill from the state of Missouri to authorize land to be transferred to the National Park Service from the state park system to us. And we wanted to recognize Dale for his work on that and appreciate the fact that he's here today to celebrate this day with us. Dale?
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. I've had the privilege of representing St. Genevieve for about 2 years now, and I found it to be a special place, and I'm so honored to get to be the lucky person to get to represent you. Several months ago, I got a call from Senator Blunt stating that we needed to do some conveyance of some properties owned by the state over to the Interior Department, National Park Service. And I believe in true transparency, so I just need to tell you, I had just gotten out of the shower. I was stark buck naked when he called. So I know that's too much information, Senator, but anyway, I am honored to be able to, I was honored to be able to be asked to do a conveyance bill. And so I filed House Bill 2315, and because of the coronavirus, as many of you know, the House went out of session, back in session, and so it was quite a disruptive time. House Bill 2315, we were down to the last week, and so we had one conveyance bill, House Bill 1330, that we decided to put my bill into and all other the bills into for conveyance in the state. So that's House Bill 1330. So if I could get Chris Collins up here, would just like to make a presentation to him. Chris, this is a plaque with the signing of Governor Parson with House Bill 1330. With his signature. There's a photo here of him signing the bill, and here is the pen that the governor used to sign this bill, along with House Bill 2315. That is an amendment to this. So I'd like to present this to you. Hopefully you'll display that with pride, and hopefully this will be something that we can all remember and cherish for many years to come. So on behalf of the state of Missouri, we're honored to be able to convey these properties to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative.
So you'll see kind of a standing theme as we walk through these thank yous, and as the conveyance bill was actually went through, there's a tremendous amount of folks from the DNR and the Missouri State Parks that were involved working locally here with staff, helping us walk through a great deal of work. And representing the state of Missouri, the Department of Natural Resources, the director, Carol Comer. Her staff and she were involved in a great deal of St. Genevieve, and it really is, and when you hear some of the discussions as we go on here, in order to fulfill what we needed to do to establish this park, the state stepped up and actually helped us do that, and it's just been an incredible relationship, and really we have appreciated the staff and everything that they've done so much. So Carol, thank you.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here today, an occasion decades in the making. The Department of Natural Resources looks forward to our ongoing partnership with the National Park Service on the development of the new St. Genevieve National Historic Park. The department transferred the Bouvet Amaro House to the National Park Service in March of 2019 and is in the process of transferring 5 additional properties: the Delasue Kern House, the Zerwig property, the Creole House, the Zarinelli property, and the Green Tea Tavern. The Bouvet Amaro House and the Green Tea Tavern are 2 of the oldest houses in Missouri, dating back to the 1700s. Missouri State Parks will continue to be represented in the St. Genevieve area at Felix Vallée State Historic Site, which features both the Felix Vallée House and the Dr. Benjamin Shaw House. Our staff at Felix Vallée State Historic Site are already working with Chris Collins and his staff with the National Park Service on operations, interpretive programs, and special events. This new historical park is expected to have a major impact on local and state tourism as people from all over the country and the world learn about the significance of this area. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you for the wonderful partnership we have here in St. Genevieve.
Thanks so much, Carol. So before I got here, I said a year. It was a little bit longer than that. And before I was here, there's a gentleman out in the audience that actually had done a tremendous amount of work on this park for the National Park Service. And I know a lot of the community knows him very well. So Tim Good, from the superintendent from Lincoln Homes, we can get a round of applause for Tim and everything that he did. Thanks for being here today, Tim. Appreciate it. Right around January, I actually got the opportunity to hire the new in-place superintendent for the new National Historical Park. And when I hired him, we sat down and we talked about a few of the goals that we were heading towards. And I talked to him about a month later, and not only was he way ahead of me, I mean, he was way ahead of me. So since he actually got here, he's has just been doing a tremendous job. You see a lot of activity around town and operations that have been going on that have already been mentioned with some of the other organizations in town. It's just been a tremendous pleasure for me to work with Chris, and I'd like you all to meet Chris Collins, the superintendent of St. Genevieve National Historical Park.
Thank you, Mike. Wow, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that I met so many of you across the street at the Welcome Center in January of this year. I look back and I'm amazed at all the challenges and what we've accomplished together over these past months. Since I've been on the scene, I've spent many hours working with the leadership of our local partners who in 2018, after the authorization of the park, agreed to help the Park Service in its endeavor of meeting the requirements necessary for park establishment. Today is a day of many thank yous for all of those years and of your hard work and dedication that led to this very moment. So it's only fitting that I take a few moments to publicly acknowledge and thank those whom I've worked with from day one to make this day possible. Therefore, I especially want to show my appreciation to Donna Roush and the staff at Felix Valley State Historic Site, Jeff Gigliorano and the staff at French Colonial America, Sarah Menard and Skip Weiler, along with the entire board and members of the Foundation for Restoration of St. Genevieve, Hank Johnson and Shawmat Winery, and Paul Hassler, Happy Welch, Toby Carrig, and all of the city staff. I couldn't do all the work of the National Park Service alone, so I also need to thank my supervisor, Mike Ward, and the staff of Gateway Arch National Park, Tucker Blythe and the staff of Ulysses S. Grant National Historic Site, as well as our regional director, Bert Frost, and the amazing staff at our Omaha regional office. Last, but certainly not least, I was extremely blessed to have an outstanding crew this summer who poured themselves into making the Park Service presence visible in this community. Thank you to Josh Hepler, Rob Lippert, Chelsea Montgomery, and Alex Harrison for representing us so very well. I'm truly excited and encouraged for our continued work together, discovering what's next as we move into the next phase of park development and planning. Again, thank you. This day is only possible because of all of you.
So just about a year ago, the Midwest region, which is Interior Region 3, 4, and 5, the Department of Interior, we gained a new regional director, and he became instantly organized and came down here, I think probably in the first month that you were actually even in Omaha. Got engaged in this project and has supported Chris and I all along the way, as Chris has already mentioned. He's been a tremendous help despite the challenges that we face just with COVID and other issues. And he is just a wonderful guy to work for. Please help me welcome Bert Frost.
Thanks, Mike. You know, you're only as good as the people who work with you, and Mike and Chris are just wonderful to work with. But Mike's right. It was about a year ago almost a year ago exactly, that I drove into Omaha from Alaska. I spent the last 5 years in Alaska as a regional director, and I drove into Omaha. I'm going, wow, what am I getting into? But one of the first parks that I visited was here in St. Genevieve. Had the opportunity to come down in January and introduce Chris as the new superintendent of the park. But you know, it's so exciting to be here today. This means so much, not only to the National Park Service, but to the local region here, the state of Missouri, and to our nation. You know, the National Park Service, we're in the perpetuity business. We're here forever. And the fact that St. Genevieve has become the 422nd unit of the National Park Service means that we're going to be, that all the good work that the stewards of St. Genevieve that have done to protect the resources of this community, that we're just going to continue to build on that work. We're not here to take over. We're not here to become the gorilla in the room. We're here to work with the partnerships to make sure that these extraordinary resources, both the natural and the cultural resources, are here to protect the heritage of the United States. That's what we're here for. And it's such a great opportunity, with the help of Senator Blunt, to have the establishment of the park here last Friday to officially make it the 422nd unit of the national park. But there's a lot of people that need to be acknowledged, and I'm just going to run through a few of them. Obviously, first is Senator Blunt and Congressman Smith for their leadership in establishing the park. I know, I think the Secretary Bernhardt came down and visited Mike at the Arch during the summer, and he said, will you please get this St. Genevieve things done so that Senator Blunt will get off my back? Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a good story. You know, Governor Mike Parsons and all the staff of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources who worked with the park staff, Carol Comer, Mike Sutherland, David Kelly, Brian Stith, Greg Combs. They worked through the donation, for the first donation of the Amaro House, as Carol said, and also with several others, that because there was a threshold we had to meet before the park could be established, and it was through the work with the state and others in order to make this happen. State Representative Dale Wright, thank you very much for taking that call coming out of the shower. You need to put that in the back of the, there needs to be a note in the frame back of the legislation. I took this call, from my shower. But without that conveyance bill, without that assurity that the state was willing to sort of be partners with us to be able to transfer these other properties, we wouldn't be here today. County Commissioners Gary Nelson, Randy Barr, and Joe Gettinger for their support. Mayor Paul Hasler, he's been a great supporter, and we look forward to continue to work with you. His willingness to have us partner with the Welcome Center across the street, so there's actually a visitor center here, is just extraordinary. And then, obviously, the Colonial Dames, the St. Louis chapter, they're also a big partner in this, who donated this house, the Jean Baptiste Valet home, thanks to Christy James and to Tandy Thompson. So all these folks and many others are why we are here today. If this work hadn't happened before we got here, they laid the groundwork for this to happen. Without their perseverance, we would not be here celebrating this great event today. But I just want to say thanks to everybody for coming out and participating and welcoming you all to the newest unit of the National Park Service. Thanks.
So a couple of years ago, working at the Arch, when I first arrived there in 2015, we were struggling with a couple things, and I had the wonderful opportunity to meet this gentleman and a large group of folks who were committed to getting the Arch project back on track and completing it as something that St. Louis would be very proud of, the National Park Service would be very proud of, and that actually occurred. What I learned during that time period working with Senator Blunt is that he is a history teacher at heart. And every time he came to the Arch or brought folks to the Arch, he always wanted to show them the vertical log structure exhibit that's actually in the museum there. And he always wanted to talk about St. Genevieve when those folks were there. And it was actually wonderful to see the delight that he had in those exhibits, and it stemmed from the fact that he was so committed to what was going on down here, and his commitment to St. Genevieve is really why we're here today. I think everybody that has been thanked today and everybody that has been involved in this, I don't think anyone would argue that we would not be standing here today had it not been for Senator Roy Blunt.
Thank you, Mike. Well, what a great day, and I am so pleased to be here. When I talked to Mike and Bert last week, and I said I'd really like this done by the end of October, so they called on Friday and said we're ready to get this to Secretary Bernhardt, and he called on Thursday and said the day before and said I'm ready to sign this, and I said, well, as it just so happens, I'm going to be in Missouri Monday. Let's see if we can't pull all of this together by Monday and get this done. My view of these things is they're never done until they're done. And this one is done, but at the same time, it's just started. The Park Service has been great. Bert Frost, starting with Secretary Bernhardt and Bert Frost and his predecessor, Cam Shawley. Mike made an incredible difference at the Arch when in that project, which is by far the biggest example, probably even in the likely near future, of the second century of the Park Service being a public-private partnership. And it was hard for this Park Service, I think, went through about 3 secretaries of Interior who each got a little better of understanding that if this is going to be a partnership, it just doesn't mean you have a new source of money, but you have a new partner in addition to that source of money. And Bert and Mike Ward really figured that out. Cam Shawley, Mike Ward, Andy Taylor at Enterprise Leasing took over the sort of the public part of that as the leader of that part and brought that together. And Mike, thanks for that. Just changing the name of that park actually wasn't all that easy to get it changed to the Gateway Arch National Park, which is what everybody called it, but there was no way to look it up that way. Realized how hard it was to get a name change of a park. We all got really focused on how important it was to get this done. Maybe the ultimate, both Chris and Bert particularly have talked about, maybe the ultimate example of a public-private partnership of a community coming together, first of all, to save what they had, to treasure what they had, and secondly, to look for the better way to preserve that into the future. And Paul, your leadership, Bert said he'd been in Alaska. This is how mayors dress in Alaska this time of year. They just put on a short sleeve shirt and get in the shadiest spot they can find and look comfortable there. So you probably are familiar with that, Bert. But Paul, your predecessor, the county commission over really a number of cycles now, very important. Carol Comer and the State Park Service wanting to be partners. Donna, who really has treasured these sites, and I've walked through many of them with her and look forward to doing that again. And then the continued partnership of the state having programming here, the federal government, the new partner with a long-term permanent commitment to this site, the community, the French Colonial America Society, the Colonial Dames, and Chrissy and Tandy and their group working together to transfer this great piece of property right here. And what is so unique, Russ Carnahan's here. He and Joanne Emerson filed the study in the House in 2005. I think we got it done in 2006. And the study is really where this all started. I took it when it got to the Senate, and we worked together to be sure it was in the piece of legislation that got signed that year. And when the study was done and we looked at it, the Park Service looked at it, I said, now that you've looked at it, what do you think? And I've said this to the Park Service about a couple of other things over time, and never before did I have the Park Service say, this is so unique, this is so important, it needs to be part of our national commitment to preserve this part of our history. And they became an immediate partner, even though they clearly have their hands full with things that they're already doing. But when you think of this site, when you think of these buildings, this one modified a little more than some of the others, but an incredible story told right here. If this was the only building we had to the colonial dames, the French colonial dames, if this was the only building we had, this building would be worth talking about. But unlike other places, nothing has been moved in. There may have been a few things moved up over time to get some of these buildings out of the floodplain, as where St. Genevieve was first located. But these buildings are where they have always been. And these buildings each have their own story to tell. They're essentially the houses are houses that you could find the core of those houses anywhere in Normandy if you just looked hard enough to find that Northern French, Norman architecture. It's still there just like it's still here. You wrap a Caribbean porch around it because this is further south than these houses would have normally been in Europe. You wrap that porch around it and you have the uniqueness of what we have right here. So one time I was dedicating a grain elevator in California, Missouri, and the band played. It was a big deal. There were jobs there. And just as the time on the program, we were exactly on time. I was to stand up. I stood up, and a train went by, even closer than that train, for about 10 minutes. And when I was done, I said, well, that's really unusual. I said, no, the train comes through that time every single day. So it was scheduled exactly so that my speech would be brief, and it will be here today as well. But I think this has such potential to be one of the great historic walking parks in America. The story in so many ways can tell itself with just a little bit of help. And that little bit of help is what happens when the community, the state, the federal government come together and say, we want to make a commitment here. Jason Smith wished he could be here today, but he was not in the state today, but he was a great partner in this, as have Senator Hawley and Senator McCaskill been as we move forward. I couldn't be more pleased to be here. I couldn't be more excited about the story that's told here. There's some argument in some material that Tim Good sent me that I've read over time of whether really old St. Genevieve was founded in 1735 or maybe more likely 1750. But if we could celebrate the 300th anniversary of St. Genevieve in 2035, the odds that I would be there would be much greater than if we wait till 2050. But this is a story that is an important part of who we are. It's an important part of our state. It's an important part of the country. It's something that today every American makes a different commitment to than they have had before as this becomes part of the national park system.
Thank you, Senator. So we're going to end the ceremony now, but we're going to walk across the street there and unveil the new sign with the Senator, Bert, and Chris, and everybody else that's on the stage here can tag along. Thank you.
Needed to add to it?
Yeah, one thing I would like to be sure to mention is the history behind the preservation movement here in St. Genevieve. This actually started decades ago with those Americans that worked to give it National Historic Landmark status. And that was the basis to have this become a national park. But one person really deserves a lot of attention. That's Donna Cerrone. She owned the Baquette Rabeau house, which Hank Johnson now currently owns. And if you look at the old newspaper articles, constantly you see her name coming up, and every time she's in an article, she's calling for this to become a national park. Unfortunately, she died several years ago. She did not live to see this moment, but I guarantee you she is tipping her hat to all those who picked up the baton and carried it through to make this the 422nd site.
So I think a big day for St. Genevieve, a big day for our state, and a big day for the country, as now every American has invested in the future of St. Genevieve and the way to preserve this part of who we are and who we become in ways that they haven't before. So to see this in the national park, I just got my National Park Passport book stamped with the St. Genevieve stamp when you visited this park. And before you know it, there'll be a St. Genevieve page in every one of these books. Signage outside town, signage like the part behind me that indicates that the United States of America recognizes this as a part of who we are in such a significant way that the Park Service intends to be a permanent partner and a partner, not a dominant force, but a partner where the state's still involved, the community's still involved, the French Colonial Society is still involved, and we move forward. And so a very exciting day for St. Genevieve and an exciting day for me.
Thank you.